You had a drinking thing for a while too, huh?
Yeah.
That's one that gets a lot of fighters.
Yeah, it does. But it's one that, on that it ticks me off and it don't.
It ticks you off?
Yeah.
How so?
A lot of it ran through the hometown, and the troubles that I got in with it, TMZ, stuff like that, the incidents that happened were petty, small. And if it wasn't in Youngstown, it would have never made news. Stuff that kind of happens.
Like what kind of shit?
No, BB guns and a
You had a
four-wheeler.
BB gun?
Yeah, I shot a kid. We were playing around. I was taking care of him. And this is the truth of the story. Taking care of him. I was putting a big lake in my backyard. And I got the country boy. I mean, I went out and rented 2 excavators and some bobcats and started putting the pond in. This guy I was helping out, he knows how to run the excavators. So he needed work. He had no money. I was taking care of him and his kids over at the house. He's working. So long story short, after about 5 days, I come home and he's in the pond or lake just in his underwear playing around. I grabbed the BB gun. I'm joking around with him, because we were shooting targets for a couple days in between working. I shoot him in the arm. 41 years old at the time too, so it wasn't a kid. He gets out, he's like, you shot me, and he's crying about it and everything else. And next thing you know, he's cool though. He gets out and it's on Facebook and he's giggling, laughing about it. And he stays at my house that night. His kids come over, I'm feeding them, we're having cookouts the next day. And little things that I don't know that I'm glad that I'm not involved in no more, or I don't put myself in that situation. So he stays for 2 days after that at my house. And his uncle comes there, who worked for the local sheriff's department, and goes, "Hey, is so-and-so here?" And I said, "Yeah, he was. I haven't seen him, though." And he goes, "Okay, hey, listen." He goes, "Kelly, I'm coming here to tell you so that way the news, the media, everything else don't come. He has a warrant out for his arrest. And tell him, if he comes back, call us." So he leaves. I go walking through the house, and Brian comes down the steps. And I was like, "Dude, you got to get the hell out of here." I was like, "I didn't know anything of this. You having a warrant, blah, blah, blah." He goes over and passes out on my couch. I call his uncle. "Hey, you want him? He's here." So he finds out. He ends up running out of the house, and they catch him, that night or whatever. They take him in. He does 2 months in the county jail, gets out, takes his uniform off, walks over to the sheriff's department and presses charges.
On you?
Yes.
For shooting with a BB gun?
Yes. And a buddy of mine who was there when it happened was videoing it. His girlfriend's laughing in the background, when it happened. It was just a video of it happening. He sold it to TMZ. And next thing you know, I end up getting served or whatnot. My attorney calls me also and says, "Hey, go down, turn yourself in. It's a federal assault charge."
Jesus, BB gun's a federal assault charge?
Yes, yeah. And that was it. And again, it was all over money. It was a drawn-out case, supposed to have been beat. And it turned to that over a BB gun with a guy, and he said it was an assault. So
How much was he trying to get from you?
He got $9,000. And it was supposed to, when he filed the civil suit a couple months into this, the criminal charges were supposed to be dropped at that point because the prosecutor and everybody knew that it was all about money. So they were going to drop the criminal charge. They never did. And it goes back in Youngstown. I was out in the public eye, and some of the people, they had it out. They have.
For people to understand how big a star you are in Youngstown, I mean, I remember at the time, I remember reading stories, seeing news clips. I mean, Youngstown's not a big place. And other than Ray Boom Boom Mancini, is not a whole lot of like really famous people, especially fighters that come out of Youngstown. But you were a fucking giant celebrity in that town.
Yeah. And that was kind of my bad on that. That's where I take the fault. You know?
It's probably hard for you to recognize. You're not even 30 years old.
Yeah.
All this shit is going on.
Yeah, and it's true, and I'm not looking for that as an excuse, when I say it, but it is true. I looked at myself as everybody else.
Right.
I think that was the issue.
You hadn't recognized yet that you're
Yeah.
in some weird place where you have to watch what you're doing.
I felt like if I go to the bar and somebody goes, "Boy, Kelly Pavlik's been here 3 days. He's a lush."
Yeah.
My argument was, I got every right to be here just like you do. Matter of fact, I have more of a right. I'm retired. I've got my money put away. You're probably drinking your, weekly pay away. That was my
thought process
of that, and it probably wasn't right, because it comes down to is you are a big fish in a little pond, and it's a small city, and I think that by being out there, I brought a lot on myself because of that. It is what it is. Unfortunately, as an athlete, you can't do that, and so that happened over a period of time, and the word got around, and a lot of anger. You had some jealous, some angry, some who just didn't like me.
Well, also just so much fun for them to gossip.
Yeah, exactly. Because what else is really not beating up Youngstown? I love it. It made me who I am. But if you really look up Youngstown, there ain't a lot to talk about. Besides the fact that we do put out the most NFL players per capita.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Youngstown does. Why is that, you think?
I don't know.
Savages.
There's some badass dudes from Youngstown, and it is. And I don't know why. I mean, even the boxing part of it, if you truly break down 5 world champs from such a small city in 36 years, as it came out.
Who are the other world champs besides Ray Boom and Mancini?
Harry Arroyo.
Oh,
Harry Arroyo
Arroyo.
actually held the title in the same weight class around the same exact time that Mancini did. You had Jeff Lampkin, Greg Richardson, and then you had a handful of other guys like Roland Cummings and fighters out there that were making noise out of Youngstown. A guy, Ken Signorani, who fought Chavez and Camacho out of Youngstown. But being there like that, it brought a lot of attention, and people wanted, and there was a lot of angry people.
Was it weird growing up there and then becoming a famous guy there?
Yeah, it is. Because again, you don't. People tell you, hey, when you get to that level, when you win the world title, shit's gonna change, man. And you're going, yeah, okay. You think right? Like you're going, yeah, I got what you're saying. And then it happens, and you win it, and it's so true when they say overnight. Like, you're not you no more. Like you can't be yourself no more. It's
right.
Everything changes, and it comes down to the person. Even though if you don't want to change and you like living your life the way you did 2 days ago, unfortunately, you can't. And it's hard, and it's something that you got to learn how to deal with. Yeah, and that wasn't my choice, though. You know what I mean by that? My choice wasn't to go out and act like a jackaloon. My choice was kind of just be me, though.
Right.
And
you just did what you wanted to do.
I did.
And then it just became a big issue because you were a famous guy.
Yes. And another issue on top of that came, too, was where I could actually take the blame for this, and I honestly can. A lot of it came down to, and everybody's different, so I'm speaking for myself. I trained my ass off when I trained. I was a 6-7 hours a day type guy, and that's what got me to throw as many punches as I did around, and I was in great shape for every fight. I sacrificed a lot of things. I gave up a lot, even starting from high school, being in the amateurs and just turning pro right out of high school. I missed a lot of things. My mentality was when, I had time, I was going to live. I was going to live like my friends who were 19, 20, 21, 24. And that was the process of it. I do believe, though, at a point, especially after I retired, that it got a little
out of hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not going to be the person to sit here and say it didn't.
Right.
It did. I'm not naive enough to say that.
Well, you know better than anybody, but the rumors were always that you were drinking a lot, and that was affecting your career.
It may have, to some point. I don't think it did. People use the fact that Hopkins beat me, and that was the reason, and that's why I retired so young. And it wasn't. It truly wasn't. Maybe some of the stuff I was doing, especially as I got older, in between fights, the drinking, I think that may have hurt a little bit. I don't think it was enough to make any significant changes in my career, to be honest with you. But who knows with that? If I didn't, we'll never know. Again, but I lived up, and do I got anything to regret about it? No.
Do you still live in Youngstown?
Yeah, on the outside in the suburbs,
Is it, I mean, it's got to be strange to have grown up there, been a child there, and then become an internationally famous world champion boxer and celebrity and still stay there.
Yeah.
The world changes and you're still Kelly Pavlik.
And I think after I retired, that's where some of the mistakes have come to, where I should have gotten out. Maybe come out here to California or go to a New York.
Come on out, Kelly.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're working on it.
Plenty of room.
Yeah,